Mr. Jay Deas. Jay, how are you today?
Good, Aaron. How's it going?
Good. Hey, was scrolling on my Twitter feed today, and I saw that Deontay got a really cool honor, one that we suspected he might win last January after his absolutely brutal knockout of Artur Spilka. Tell us a little bit about that award.
You actually have more info than I do. Tell me about it.
Apparently, Deontay was given the knockout of the year by the WBC Boxing.
Oh wow! He certainly earned that one. that was a what we call a postage stamp knockout, which means, we always talk in boxing about you don't just want to hit the face of your opponent or the body. You want to hit a particular spot, and you almost want to think in terms of hitting, a postage. That's what he did in that one.
Jay, I mean, you were there ringside. I was there ringside for that fight. And, I mean, there was some serious, I don't mean to make light of it, but there was some serious concern at the time that Deontay had seriously injured Artur. Fortunately, he was okay and had a brief stay in the hospital, came back to his hotel there in Brooklyn. But from your vantage point, you kind of summed it up a little there. That was the perfect shot, wasn't it?
It was. And Spilka was trained by Ronnie Shields, who's a good friend of mine. So we certainly were concerned and wanted everything to be okay. Fortunately, it was, but it was just a devastating punch.
What's the latest, Jay, with Deontay? I know he's tweeted that he's getting close to being back to 100%. For those that don't know, he broke a bone in his hand and tore his biceps in his over the summer in his heavyweight defense. Where does Deontay stand in terms of his rehabilitation at the moment?
He's cleared. The bicep takes longer than the hand, which is great news because it will force him to rest the hand more than it ever has rested in the past several years. So that's great news that the hand is perfectly well while the bicep got better, and now the bicep has been cleared. So he's cleared to throw both hands in training, and that's exactly what we've been doing.
So you guys are already back in training?
That is correct. We're back in training using both hands. He's even done some what you call light sparring, and everything is on his own pace right now for a return. As soon as we hear about a fight, we can proceed, and we're ready.
Jay, you mentioned sort of a blessing in disguise of tearing the bicep was forcing a little longer to wait to start throwing that right hand again. Any other ways that time off could have benefited Deontay? I know it's in the middle of his career. He's the heavyweight champion. It can be pretty brutal losing that span of time that he's lost. But what are some benefits that maybe we don't see that he could have benefited from this time off?
Well, he loves to be active, so that was probably the thing that hurt the most. But the other blessing in disguise is that I think the time off has shown him how much he is in love with boxing, how much he misses it, and he's come back refreshed and renewed. It's a little bit like when you're day in and day out on a job, and then you get a vacation. You tend to come back with a lot more energy and you're just refreshed. Everything is put on reset, and you're ready to go. And that's exactly where he is now, mentally and physically.
Where do you stand? And I know for those who don't follow the sport of boxing very closely, there are literally 1,000 different moving parts that need to come together to make a fight. But what's a realistic time frame for Deontay to be back in the ring, and what are you guys looking at to make that happen?
I think February, and you're right when you say a lot of moving parts. You've got to find a venue. You've also got, with Deontay's level, you've got to have a TV network that's going to fund the thing. Then you've got to get both fighters and their schedules on board, and so there is a lot to it. It's also an undercard to put together, and so on and so forth. You have weather concerns during certain parts of the year. Some cities are going to be better than others. And so all this points to me, I would think a February return is possible and hopefully probable.
Talking to Jay Deas, the trainer and manager of the Tuscaloosa WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder. Jay, any sense from the WBC? Are you guys going to be having to face a mandatory fight? Where does that stand?
We don't know. We are not sure exactly, who, where, or when. We hope to have that information sometime within the next maybe 10 days. So we're not exactly sure whether this will be a voluntary or a mandatory, but whatever it is, we'll be ready for it.
Is the for those who don't know, is the Bermain, Stavern, and Povetkin fight still on?
I think it is. I haven't paid any attention to it because, it kind of falls under the irrelevant category for me because I just don't see on a personal level. I don't see the need for an interim title fight when the real champion Deontay Wilder, when his schedule wasn't adversely affected anyway. When Bermain Stavern was champion, he fought once a year at best. Deontay Wilder last fought in July, so a January, February return would be well within the bounds of what a champion should do. So I don't see the need for an interim fight, but they did, I guess. So Stavern and Povetkin will fight for that interim title, and Deontay is just it's not on his radar either. It's just because he's the real champ, and that's what counts.
For those that don't know, Bermain Stavern, who Deontay Wilder defeated to win the WBC heavyweight title, is scheduled to face Alexander Povetkin this Saturday night. Of course, Povetkin is the one Deontay was scheduled to fight over the summer in Russia, but failed a mandatory drug test, and it's caused a lot of chaos behind the scenes. Will you watch that fight Saturday night, Jay, or were you just completely?
I'll probably watch it, maybe as a replay or something. It's not something where I'm going to try to find a way to see it or anything like that. We've got some sparring with our younger fighters at our other gym, which is our free gym in Coffeyville, Alabama, that serves 3 counties, and being with the kids and watching them work out and spar is much more valuable use of my time than the Povetkin and Stavern fight.
Wrapping up here with Jay Deas, the Deontay Wilder's trainer and manager. What did Deontay do? I know he did some TV work this past weekend. Was it Anthony Joshua and Eric Molina? What has he been doing? You mentioned he likes to be active, and that was probably the hardest part of it. How has he kept himself busy?
Well, he's like I said, he's back in the gym. He's excited. He still has some travel obligations that he's finishing up with, and one of those was doing commentary for the Joshua Molina fight, and he did a fantastic job. I thought it was one of the best telecasts they've had in terms of the commentary in a while. He really gave a fighter's perspective, and I thought he did great. I think he's got a real future doing a lot of that type of work.